And good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Tech20 Tuesday. It is Tuesday, November the 1st. If you're joining us live, if you're not, this was recorded on Tuesday, November the 1st. I'm Jeff Whipple. I'm a digital learning lead for ASD-W. And Tech20 Tuesday, as you know, is exactly what it says. It's 20 minutes of something to do with digital technology and how we can use it in teaching and learning. And of course, it's on Tuesday. Yeah, last week we had a quick look at D2L Brightspace. This week we're going to delve a little deeper into a new Brightspace tool called Portfolio, which I think has a lot of possibilities, particularly at the younger grades. And joining us today to help us explore the possibilities with Portfolio is D2L Brightspace training lead from EECD, Heather Roxborough. So Heather, thank you for joining us. And again, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen and you can pick it up and start to share yours. And we will keep on going and I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. So yeah, as Jeff said, I'm the D2L Brightspace training lead. So you can email me or message me on Teams with any questions. And I also put a few documents in the chat that are just sort of how-to guides. So we're going to sort of do a bit of a quick overview of Portfolio here. But if you sort of want to go back and try it on your own, those guides might be useful, and I'll sort of show you a little bit about what's on them as we go through. So as Jeff also mentioned, we're going to look at Brightspace. And for those of you who aren't familiar, Brightspace is a full-featured learning management system. So it's the same software that our high school students use when they take online courses that you may have used if you've taken an online course with UMB, or even the K-2 literacy courses that have been offered through EECD. So you may have used it, but it is sort of a K-12 platform and beyond. So it doesn't always look the same. You can customize it. And in particular, you can use just parts of it. So what we're going to focus on today is just the portfolio tool, which is a nice way to share items that your students have done, work items, with their parents. And so we'll show you how that works. So if you've never used Brightspace before, the first thing that you're going to want to do is get your own class or course set up. So you can see this one here is called Miss Smith's Grade 4 class or course. And the Getting Started document that I uploaded shows you how to do that. Basically, we have a SharePoint site where you request a course or a class. And in this case, if you're following along with the example we're using here, you're going to want to choose a blended course and the K-8 homeroom. That just gives you the template that I'll be showing you here, but it can be customized. So then you would generally get your course or class generally the next school day after you request it. Alan Steves and Paul Michaud are two of our D2L administrators who actually create those classes for you. And when you first log in, if you're not familiar with it, you would log into nbblc.nbed.nb.ca and just click on the blue button. If you're already logged in on a school computer, that's it. If not, you'll be prompted for your NBED username and password, so the exact same username and password you use for your email. Then you're taken to the My homepage, which looks like this, and your class will be listed here under My Courses, or also here in what we call the waffle widget. And you just click on it and you're at the homepage. Before you start using Portfolio, you're going to want to add your students, because there's really nothing to do with Portfolio if you don't have students in your class. So if you click on this little drop down, that shows you all of the navbar items that we currently have, and you can just click on Class List. All of your students already have Brightspace accounts. They're generated automatically from PowerSchool, as are the parent accounts. So those are linked automatically from the information that's in PowerSchool. So if your student has an account and it's properly inputted into PowerSchool with proper parent information, those accounts are already there and linked. So you just need to add your students to your class. So you just click on Add Participants, Add Existing Users, and then you'll search for your students. Usually by the name is what I find the easiest, so you can use username or student ID as well. So I just type in Jeff's name here, and I can click the magnifying glass to search, and I come up with one search result here at the bottom. If there were 5 Jeff Whipples in the system, it would list all 5. And so you want to just check to make sure that it's the proper username or org ID, which is the student number for your students. If it's the right one, you can select the name. And for the role for your students, choose face-to-face student, F to F student. and then just click enroll and repeat that until all of your students are entered. I'm going to cancel this because Jeff doesn't really need to be in my test course here. And you can also add other teachers to your class as well. You'll have been added and your own name will appear on the staff tab here. And your role will be either face-to-face teacher or more likely you'll have been added as alt-site teacher, which basically gives you full control over your site. So once your students are added, you're ready to get started with Portfolio. So you can just click on that link in the nav bar. And by default, it will show you the view by students. And you can also click to view just the evidence, so all the items that have already been uploaded. But if you're just starting out, obviously there won't be any evidence uploaded. And you can click on a student's name to get started and start uploading for them. You can tell though here that some of these students already have items uploaded. The most recent one will show as the background image. In this case where there's no image, it was a file that was uploaded like a Word document, so it doesn't show up there. But I can see here that there are 2 items that have already been added to the portfolio, one of which has been shared with parents and guardians, and there's one here that actually hasn't been approved yet. So you do have some options and some control over how portfolio works, and you can adjust those by clicking on settings. So you see I had those sort of monster icons that showed up for my students. That's by selecting this checkbox, which I like. I also like to have evidence approval turned on. What this does is that when students submit items, they don't go directly into the main part of their portfolio. You as a teacher need to approve them first, which is a nice option if you want to use some of the bulk tools to categorize those or to bulk share them with parents and guardians, which we'll show you here too in a second. And if you want to add your own categories, by default, we have some subject area categories that are listed under school categories, but if you want some categories that are specific to your class, you can add them there. I'm just going to go back out here and I'm going to go into Penny's portfolio. And I can see the evidence that she has uploaded already. If there was nothing here and I wanted to add something, I would click on Add to Portfolio. I can drag and drop or browse to my computer. I can also click here to go to my OneDrive and upload a file that I have. Once that's uploaded, I'll get a view that looks very similar to this. Whatever I've uploaded is going to appear here. There's 3 dots, so there's some options that I can do right away if I want to download it, unapprove or approve, delete that particular item. And then I can basically edit it as though I'm a student, and then I can also add teacher feedback. So I could change the title here. If Penny had uploaded this herself with the app, she might have recorded audio reflections, which would show up here. She could also have typed in text reflections. And as a teacher, I can also type those in on her behalf. So I could type in a reflection, and I could choose add. And that will appear as though it's Penny's reflections, and I can also categorize her work. So as I mentioned, the school categories are our basic subject areas, so I can click one, and I can click multiple ones. If it impacts more than one area, I can click that, and if you've added your own class categories, you can click here, and they'll show up there. I haven't added any. If I wanted to, I could click on Go to Category Management or Manager, and that would again show me that settings view. So that's sort of what I consider the student side of the evidence. And then on this side, it is the teacher side. So you can leave feedback, which I've done here already. And if I wanted to edit it or delete it, I can. I can add a new comment and click add. I can add a rubric. No, I can't create it within Portfolio. Rubric is sort of a separate Brightspace tool, but from that initial homepage in that nav bar, I could choose Course Admin and go to Rubrics, create my rubric, and then I would have an add button here and I can add it. I can pop it out and then fill out my rubric here to evaluate. And you can see it's quite diverse what you can do with the rubric tool. I don't actually have any points on here, although I could. I could have written descriptions here, but because this is geared for elementary, I just did images here for faces instead. And I can also add outcomes. Again, I would need to add those to my course first, but once I've added them to the course, I can click on Add Outcomes here, and I can just choose whatever outcomes I wanted, click Save, and now I can evaluate those outcomes here. So I can choose Not Yet, got it. And all of those items, if I choose to share them with parents and guardians, will be visible to them. There's also a teacher only section, so I can add my own private note just to remind myself of something. And if I choose visible in this section, that would share it with other teachers that have been added, not students and not parents. But if I choose visible here, I can share those notes with other teachers. And then if I do want to share it with parents and guardians, I just toggle it over to visible. There is one glitch that we have really just discovered this week, and that's with this little icon here. It works wonderfully for me. So you can see I mouse over that and I can see the parents and guardians that are associated with Penny's account. For most teachers, there's a glitch in the software and it's instead showing incorrectly that there are no parents or guardians associated with that particular student. They are there for the most part, unless there's been a problem with that Power School transfer, but it's just not showing up for our teacher roles. Brightspace is working on it. They don't have a timeline for when that will be fixed. As a workaround for right now, what you can do is go to class list and on the drop down next to a student's name, choose email parents and guardians, and that will bring up their email addresses so you'll know that they are associated with that particular student. If we get a fix for that, I will let you know. And then that's it. You don't need to hit save. You can just go back and you could go back to, another student. The other thing though that's really nice about Portfolio is that students can upload on their own and they don't even need to log in. You can use what this print class pass cards link here in combination with an app on a mobile device, so an iPad or a phone, iOS or Android. So instead of logging in, they'll scan a QR code. So I'm just going to bring up a quick PowerPoint that has some screen captures of what that actually looks like. So the app is just called Brightspace Portfolio. Obviously, it's free. You can install it on your device. And if you want students to upload, generally once you log in, when you first use the app, you'll have to choose the provider, which is just search for New Brunswick, and we should show up, New Brunswick Department of Education, choose us, and then you'll see a screen that looks like this. And for students to upload using those QR codes, you'll choose class device. My device is what you might want to use if you want to log in with your own credentials and upload multiple files to a single student or the same file to multiple students. You can do that with my device only though on iOS devices, unfortunately. My device will work on both, but using the multiple file option is only available currently on iOS devices. Family device is designed for students to use at home, and it works very similar to the class device mode. So once you select class device, you'll be prompted, once you select class device, you'll get this option of in-class mode or in-class with Funster. I'm going to show you first in-class mode here. They're very similar as well. The Funster mode is designed for those young users, K-2, and it really walks them through with voice prompts. So it's also a nice option for those really young learners. So the first thing you do is you need to scan your QR code. And again, this is the class card that they're looking for. So if we look at our QR codes, this is the first one is always your class card and it's got your course name or class name underneath. You can print this out, but you can also actually scan directly on the screen. So you'll scan your QR code, then it will bring up a screen asking you to make sure that's the right course, and then you can click on Advanced Options. And this is where you can choose whether or not you want students to be able to access photos and videos that are already on that device that they're using. Make your selection, click Let's Go, and you can hand it off to a student. And then they'll get a screen that looks like this, asking them to scan their own personal pass card. So again, if this was Fiona, she would scan this QR code and that's it. She's logged in. She doesn't have to remember a username or a password or anything else. It will open up to the camera mode for her. She can click the camera icon to take a photo, click the red recording button to take a video, or if you've allowed access to videos and photos on the device, she can click the little picture icon to access those and choose one. Once that image is taken, it'll appear, and then she gets to add a title. She can click Start Recording, record some audio reflections, and although it's cut off a little bit down here, she can also type in some text reflections, and then just click Done, and she's good to go. With the Funster mode, again, that's designed for younger users. It looks very similar. The options are a little bit different here. and instead they'll have sort of these prompts, but they'll still scan their QR code. And every time you see sort of this text, that would be an audio prompt as well. So they would actually be able to hear them being walked through each step. They'd take their photo or record their video, click the X if they want to retake it, the check mark to accept it, record their audio, and then as soon as they're done recording their audio, it's uploaded to their portfolio and they're good to go. So if you do have students that are uploading that way, I do recommend that you require that approval. And what you can do then is go to approve evidence, and anything that those students have uploaded will appear here. Okay, and you can click on each one individually, add feedback if you want to. But the really nice part about the approval feature is that you can do some bulk actions. So I could categorize all of them. They'd all just uploaded their science project. I could in bulk classify these all as science items. I can then also bulk share with parents and guardians. And then once I'm done, I can choose approve all. And I want to make sure I save that approve all for the last because once it's approved, it's gone and I no longer have my bulk options left. And we have a couple of minutes left. I just wanted to show you what it would look like from a parent view. And I forgot I haven't been checking my chat. Jeff, has there been any questions popped into chat there?
There have not.
Okay, perfect.
No questions.
So we did sort of show how you could just toggle it on to share with parents and guardians. This is the parent and guardian view if they log in a browser. They can also access it via the Brightspace not Brightspace portfolio, but Brightspace Parents and Guardians app, and it'll look very similar. They log in in a very similar way to how we log in. They would just choose the orange button rather than the blue button. They use their email address that's in PowerSchool as their username, and the very first time they log in, they have to click forgot password. But these are the items I see. You're probably not going to have anything in work to do or recent grades because you're probably not going to be using those. But then here they'll see the portfolio items. And you'll see here too, they also have latest posts. This is the activity feed, which you may have noticed on that course homepage. So you can use this to sort of post sort of general class announcements, or if you wanted to share a photo with every parent in the class, you could post it to activity feed rather than to portfolio. But if we click on view all portfolio items here, they'll see all of the courses if your student is in more than one. If not, they would just see the one course that they're in. You can also click on evidence to see it that way. So if we go to this item, they'll see a very similar view to what you saw as a teacher. They see the student's work. They can see any audio or text reflections, any categories that were added either by the teacher or by the student. You can see any feedback left. Again, they'll see the rubric and they can pop it out for that full view, any outcomes that have been added. And if those haven't been added, they just don't appear there at all. The one question we have received from teachers so far is if there's a way for parents to leave comments on the portfolio or to message back. And the answer at this point is no, there isn't. That is one feature that has been requested, and it is something that they're looking into, but so far Brightspace has not made that change. If they do, we will let you know. And then of course parents can go back to the dashboard from there as well. And so just going back here into the teacher view, I'm just going to go back to the home page for the course. And of course to do that, I just need to click on the name of the course. And the activity feed that I was talking about is right here. So if you wanted to create a post, you just click create a post, write your message, add images, add attachments, whatever you would like to do. And you can choose to post now or post later. And that will show up again in the parent and guardian view. And I think we're just about at the time. So I'll stop sharing for a moment and see if there are any questions or comments there.
So I don't see any comments or questions in the chat, but what a wonderful overview. Thank you.
No problem. And if anybody does have questions as they're trying it out later, by all means, send me a message and I'll do my best to answer them.
Absolutely. And we know Heather's very responsive. Those of us who work with Heather and have that pleasure know that she gets back to us very quickly. So if you are looking to get a hold of Heather, it's Heather Roxborough at nbed.nb.ca. So that's with D2L or portfolio specific questions. You can reach out to Heather. If you have questions or looking for immediate support or long-term support or any kind of support around digital tools in the district, we have an amazing digital learning team. There are 5 members of that team, of which I have the distinct pleasure of being one of them. Also, Brenda Cameron's on the line today, and so Brenda is made herself kind of an expert on D2L and portfolio. So if you do have questions specifically about D2L portfolio, Brenda would be a great resource, but you can reach out to any of us. So Brenda, Carmel Desjardins, Yvette Seeley, Wendy Thomas, or myself, and our emails are on the screen. So I do not see any more questions. I'm going to stop the recording.